Alrighty, welcome back to the weight room. Thanks for tuning in again today. And today we're gonna have an episode. It's just me today. We're gonna have a little check-in, and we did a little check-in for you a few episodes back. I believe episode 150, and we talked about some ways to kind of get back on, or start on that path really to getting where you want to be, to accomplishing your goal, to accomplishing your resolution for the year. But today we're going to be talking about my check in. And I kind of talked about the episode a little bit on that episode, but basically what these are going to be, it's going to be at the end of the month. And I'm just going to sit here and talk about what my month was like from a health, from a fitness perspective. And if it's not going too great, maybe I can use this as a little bit of an accountability holder. And if it's going good, maybe it can be a little bit of a motivation for you. But that's what it's going to be. So let's just get into it. So, first of all, even though it's a check in on me, how did your January go? This is January 31st. This episode's coming out a little bit late, but I just kind of wanted the whole month to play out. I wanted the whole month to roll out in front of me and see how I handled it, see what happens. And so it's coming out a little bit late, but how's your month going, or how did it go really? How did January go? Think about that. And, if it didn't go too well, there's still time. And if it did go great, just remember there's still time as well, so you still have to put in the time, even if you had a good month. But moving past that, what did I accomplish for this month? And I think I want to start there because I'm starting on a positive note, and sometimes I can help. But I did complete 75 hard this month, and maybe you know what it is, maybe you don't. But if you don't know what it is, check it out. It's interesting little um, mental training, mental toughness training. And a lot of people don't like it for whatever reason. They don't really understand it. I think that's why they don't like it. But it is what it is. Maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe it is for everybody. Maybe we're just living in a society where everything has to be, easy, has to be accomplishable without much strain, mentally or physically. And I think that, that's kind of where we are as a society. And 75 hard does push you. It does kind of make you think like, okay, how I'm living now actually good? And 75 hard kind of makes you make some adjustments in your life. It makes you think about time maintenance. It makes you think about prioritizing what's important, not wasting time on things that necessarily aren't important. So I did complete that. Also rode my Peloton for 40 miles, which is a personal best on one ride. That was a fun thing to do. It took about 2.5 hours, a little under. Very challenging. I didn't have to do it, but I kind of wanted to do it to get a good portion of my miles done for the month. Another thing I did on actually the next day or 2 days after, I can't remember now, but I rode personal best 57 miles in a day. That's another accomplishment for the month. Let's see what else did I do this month. I completed my January Peloton miles goal. I actually completed one day ahead of schedule. So I'm using today as a recovery day. I'll hop on and get like 1 mile in, and I'm really just doing that just in case the mile meter is messed up and it doesn't log me for a certain mile or whatever. I'm just kind of covering my bases on that, as well as kind of staying in it a little bit, staying in that routine. But yes, I did complete 700 for the month of January. Another thing I did, I started lifting weights regularly again. And it hasn't been that long. I stopped probably for like 2 or 3 weeks around Christmas time. I wasn't going to the gym, and then, went on a trip. So that was another couple days. It was just, it felt like it was a long time. So I really wanted to dedicate some time. And it's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks going strong, and it feels good. It feels good to get back in and actually feel a lot stronger from when I first, started up a couple weeks back, about 3 weeks ago now. I feel like I've been gaining strength, and I think really it's probably just, getting back into it and everything like that, but it does feel good. So I'm interested to see where that takes me. So that's what's been going good. What's been going not quite as good, and I don't want to say necessarily bad because this isn't a really a bad list per se, but I haven't been tracking my macros like I want to. I know
I really want to because I know I see results when I do. It's not about like being crazy about what I put in my body, even though I kind of am. It's not about bodybuilding. It's not about any competition. It's just about me knowing that when I track my macros, I actually see results. So I need to start doing that again. I know I do if I'm going to be lifting weights and doing all this biking. I don't want to lose weight. So that's something I need to work on. Another thing, my caffeine intake for a while got a little bit aggressive. I'm not a huge coffee drinker. I'm not a huge caffeine person, and I don't really want to get addicted and have like withdrawals or anything like you hear a lot of people do. Even just from like drinking soda and stuff, you hear people saying, I have to drink it or I get a headache, and I don't want to be I don't want to say addicted per se, even though it is an addiction. I don't want a food. I don't want something like that. I don't want anything to have control over me. So I'm not going to let caffeine do that. So what I've done is I have limited myself to going over 100 milligrams only 2 days per week. And I went with 100 because most energy drinks out there are well over 100, and I don't want to drink, a lot of energy drinks. Even though the ones that I do drink, I feel like they're pretty good for you. It's just the caffeine. I don't want a huge intake of that for most days of the week, unless it's absolutely necessary. I need to stay up for whatever reason. Then all bets are off. I gotta do what I gotta do. But caffeine. Another thing is it's my first time drinking this month since October. So it's not like it's been a long time, and I'm not really a big drinker either. But just like when you go out or when you're celebrating something and you're not drinking, it does feel a little weird. So first time drinking since October, getting back into the field, just kind of balancing it, not going crazy. So I've had some drinks at Disney, and that was the first ones I've had since October, and it was good. It was fun. And then a few on the weekends. I don't, like I said, I don't go crazy with it. I just want to kind of find a good limit. Limit myself to, I guess, having fun, maybe doing a little bit, but also not going crazy. I'm not one of these weekend partiers really. So if I do drink a little bit, it's really not that hard to cut it off. It's not part of what I do typically. So some things I could do better, and some things that I'm just kind of trying to do better and watch out for. And then go into just general health, because I think that's important as well. Fitness is good, and increasing your strength, increasing your cardiovascular strength, that's all good. But generally speaking, I actually got COVID this month. I had no symptoms. So that was good. I feel like, say what you want to say, but if you're healthy, you respond differently to things. And I know you're going to point out, well, this one person that I know, or this athlete that is really healthy got COVID and had these symptoms. But generally speaking, we do know that the statistics are pointing towards hospitalizations and deaths from people who are unhealthy, from people who have comorbidities, who have underlying conditions and things like that. So I take pride in myself knowing that I have good health and I take care of my health, and I do watch what I put in my body, and I try to push my body on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say it was luck, because I don't think it was. And unfortunately, everybody doesn't take care of themselves, and that's just how it goes. So I think we have to be ready. Another thing that did happen is I got a Whoop strap, and I actually ordered it back in October when the 4.0 came out, maybe even like September. I can't remember now, but it was a while back. And I just got it at the beginning of January. But it's been amazing. It's changed the game when it comes to sleep, when it comes to recovery. I'm taking my sleep time much more seriously. I was starting to take my sleep pretty seriously. I was, doing being more cautious with lights at night, being more cautious with food at night, which I need to like figure that out again. But more cautious with waking up at a certain, general time in the morning, going to sleep at a certain, you know, I guess more general time at night. But I was still struggling with my total time of sleep. And for me, statistics and data are very powerful. So seeing those numbers specific to me saying, oh, you're only this percent recovered, that did a lot for me. And so it's changed the game when it comes to my recovery. So it's been cool to get to use the Whoop for almost a full month. And once I get that full month under my belt and I get that first report, we get weekly reports, we get monthly. I'm interested to see kind of how all these things play out. You got a lot of interesting metrics. This is not a commercial for Whoop. They're not sponsoring anything yet. I hope they do one day, but um, I think I think it's really cool for a lot of competitors, competitive people in general, for a lot of people interested in health and fitness. Check it out. It's so fun to play with those numbers and see how you can recover better and faster and know your heart rate variability and your all that other cool stuff. And then another cool thing I did, actually got a blood test and DNA, not test, but DNA swab or whatever you want to call it, for Christmas, through Inside Tracker. And once again, not a commercial. They're not sponsoring me yet. Hopefully one day they do. But when it comes to that, I'm interested to see the results. I'm interested to see what comes back. And basically, they're just going to send me some things that I can do better or some things I can put into my life that will help my health overall. So I'm interested to see what that has coming back. I haven't got my blood test yet, but it's coming up in just a few days. Set my DNA test in today, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on to some goals for next month, because I always am looking forward. Just beginning to track my macros. That's one of the biggest things. Staying consistent with it. That's that's big. And then actually hitting my macros on a daily basis as well. And then not skip a lifting session, weightlifting session, because a lot of times that'll be the first thing I skip, because it's kind of one of those it's one of those things that is I do during a busy time of the day. So if it's not exactly fitting in, it's the first thing I throw out, because other things are more time sensitive. And I just want to find a way to not skip those. And I think having a gym now, and not that it's new, but just remembering and realizing I have a gym here at the apartment, and I can go and even if it's not to the same exact workout, I can still get a good lifting session in. That's going to be very helpful. Another thing I want to do is begin adding more structure into my weightlifting. Right now, I'm just really lifting weights, and I'm focusing on strength to some degree, and then on other degrees, not so much. It's more of like a hypertrophy based, but getting more structure. And because I know that's where you see the results, is having structure and writing stuff down and all that stuff. But right now I am really enjoying it. I'm enjoying just kind of like not necessarily doing what I feel like, because I'm doing the exercises, but sometimes I might vary on, okay, today I'm doing 5 reps, tomorrow, or the next time I do it, I'll do 7 or 8 reps. So um, it's just kind of here and there as far as programming goes, but I want to kind of get more specific and more structured in my weightlifting programming itself. And then moving on to 750 miles on the Peloton for February. And it's not a huge increase, 700 in January, 750 in February, but I do have a few less total days to get my workouts in. So I wanted to increase my total miles, but I didn't want to do it to a crazy degree, because I mean 2 days doesn't sound like much, or 3 days, but when you can do 20 to 30 miles in a day, all of a sudden that's almost another 50 to could be 100 miles, or whatever, getting close to it. So I increased it to 50. I have less days to do it, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. So that's my check-in for the month. But today you're seeing a lot of stuff on the news, and this is a side note, but it comes from a point of health. It comes from the point of freedom, really, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and freedom of expression, freedom of choice. And people make choices, as we've seen today on the news. Certain artists have made certain choices to leave certain platforms, and Spotify's made certain choices. They have decided to add links to basically fact backed sites for COVID-19. And if you mention COVID-19 in your episode, is how it's probably going to end up playing out, how it does on Instagram and Facebook now, then you're going to, and I've already said COVID-19 in this episode, so I'm sure my episode's reaching the algorithm somehow, and they're going to put some type of website to the CDC or whatever. But what it basically, I'm talking today about this because I hope this doesn't cause Joe Rogan, and I know this affects much more than Joe Rogan, but I hope this does not cause Joe Rogan to change what he's doing, change what he does or how he does it, because he really does. He has a huge platform, and I think he uses it very well. You know, if you don't listen to Joe Rogan, you're probably gonna think that you're gonna have an opinion of him. I don't know what you're gonna think, but you're gonna have a certain opinion of him based on the news, based on what you see on the news, based on what your friends tell you who probably don't listen to him either. But he does a lot of good when it comes to conversation, when it comes to talking to people that have differing opinions of his own and actually just sitting down and talking to them, asking them questions. I'm basically just sick of the censorship. I'm sick of I'm sick of it all. Free speech, free thought, and free action has taken a massive hit in the last 2 years from the United States government, from companies like Facebook, Twitter, Google, and others who have not even had sometimes malicious reasoning behind it or malicious want behind it, but they just have been simply too afraid to do anything else. They're too afraid of the repercussion of the backlash from the people who are basically causing all this hassle, from the government or from the woke media. Once again, people like Joe Rogan, they have paved the way in these last 2 years, especially for free flowing, non aggressive, thoughtful conversation. And if Spotify continues to cater to groups like the CDC, the woke left, the media, and big pharma, I'm very afraid, I'm very scared where it will take us, because Spotify is a platform. And I know it's a private company. And that's everybody's argument. Well, they can do what they want. They're a private company. But whenever you take away that kind of free thought, and I know they didn't take it on the podcast, they didn't do anything like that. But whenever you basically say, "Hey, here's a website to correct everything this person just said," that you're implying that what that guest or that person, that podcast host said was wrong. That's what you're implying. They're in control of the largest, most popular, and most positively influential podcast. Spotify is. And unless another massive platform comes along, which is unlikely to happen because it will be labeled as a right wing platform, and it will, there's no way it will become massive. But unless this happens, it's sad, but this to say, but it's probably downhill from here for podcasts, like this podcast, who have ideas outside of the mainstream narrative. And there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of people out there. We're not being loud enough. We're not saying what we want to say. And that's why I just had to bring this up on this podcast, because honestly, I'm sick of the censorship, and I'm sick of the guilt trip of not getting a vaccine or not being up to date on your flu shot, or not having a picture of your vaccine on your Instagram page or your Facebook page, or not bowing down to the mob or the woke left or whatever you want to call them. It's enough. Enough is enough. And these artists, and I know these artists aren't particularly popular to people who probably listen to music most these days, but that's where it starts. We don't need this kind of message. When I don't want to call anybody specific out, but when people as big as Taylor Swift or as big as, whoever else start to come out and say, I'm doing the same thing, then that's only going to show the youth that we can't have conversations, because we can't trust these certain people. We have to go off into our own corners. We can't even be on the same platform as people who think like this. We can't even be on the same app or the same whatever. We can't even be a part of the same. And that just goes to show, can we even be a part of the same country? Because if you're starting with, we can't even be a part of the same digital platform, that's just a digital thing. If we can't do that, how can we sit side by side on a bus, or sit side by side on a plane, or sit side by side in a classroom? If we have different ideas. So it's enough. Let's come together and stop saying that, oh, this is bad information. This is misinformation. It's time that companies stand up as well and say that enough is enough. Spotify is a platform, and if it doesn't value what we truly value as podcasters and as listeners, then maybe when it comes to human rights, that is, especially, maybe we should leave. Maybe it's time that we, the people who are concerned about the actual freedom of speech, if they want to censor certain ideas, maybe it's time that we leave and depower them, take their power away. Maybe we need to do something about it. Let Spotify and let all these other, Facebook and obviously Instagram is owned by Facebook, but Twitter and Google, if they want to censor and they want to basically show us what they want us to see, hide certain posts and hide certain profiles and hide certain whatever, let that be the wokes platforms. That's fine. It's fine to have differing ideas from other people. That's what makes the world go round. You know, but when your idea is mainstream and it's labeled truth and backed by science, and my idea is considered dangerous, even though it's still backed by science, it's still backed by data and statistics. But when my idea is labeled dangerous, we're losing our freedom of expression. We're losing our freedom to believe and to say what we truly actually think. And it's being labeled as dangerous for some reason. I don't understand what's dangerous about having one of the world's leading cardiologists on, or one of the world's leading this, that, and the others on that Joe Rogan has on. Yeah, I'm a small fish in a big pond, but Joe Rogan has some of the most knowledgeable people in the world on. And 2 years ago, their ideas and their thoughts would have been considered completely, you know, science backed. Science, they were science. And now they have a differing idea. And you've seen this throughout history. Oh, the world isn't flat. Oh, burn them at the stake. And the world, oh, the sun doesn't actually revolve around the world. Oh, burn them at the stake. You've seen this throughout history where the quote unquote truth is challenged, and it's burn them at the stake, or stone them, or exile them. Maybe these people aren't crazy. Maybe these people didn't deserve to be stoned stoned in the pit, or burned at the stake, or crucified, or exiled. We need to learn from history and understand that just because somebody has a different idea, that's okay. It's okay to have a differing idea, a differing opinion. It's mind-boggling. It's time that normal people stand up. We need to stand up as well and say, okay, yeah, you believe that, but this is what a lot of us believe. And we're not going to take just being silenced. We're not going to take just okay, if you don't like how this makes you feel, then we're going to we're going to put a label on it as this here, this is dangerous, because that's not right. It's time for all of us like-minded people to stand up and stop taking the beating, and stop taking the crazy outbreak of censorship. So this is a little side note, just a little side note, just a little, thought that I had today. And it's not the first one, but maybe that's why I've brought it up today. It's been boiling up. So if you have a similar thought, if you have a similar, and we don't have to have the same ideas, you don't have to believe that basically the same ideas that I do. But if you just believe that we should all have the ability to say what we want to say without repercussions, and have the same freedom of choice to do with our body what we want to do with it, whether that means a shot, or whether it means abortion, or whether that means whatever, a tattoo, whatever it means. Or if you believe that, you know, I might not sit here and agree that sitting on the couch all day eating potato chips is the healthiest thing in the world to do, but I'm not going to push for, a censorship of that idea. I'm just going to try to educate and do what I do here on the weight room. I'm going to try to educate. I'm going to try to push for information that I believe is correct, but that doesn't mean I have to silence your voice. So, with that being said, that is it for today's podcast, though, before I completely go off on a 20 million different tangents. Thanks for tuning in. And before I head out, though, if you haven't already, subscribe where you're listening. For now, leave that review on Spotify, or rating rather. You can leave that rating on Spotify. It's really easy. Just go to the weight room on Spotify, and it's right up there by the title. You'll see a star. Just click that star, and then a little thing will pop up. You hit 5 stars if you'll think it's worth 5 stars, whatever you think it's worth. If you think it's worth 1 star, give it a 1 star, but just let me know you're out there. Other than that, though, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great first part of your week. We'll be back here on Thursday with another episode from another great guest. Other than that, I'm out.